Good evening. My name is Krista Sofanowski. This is my capstone for my master's in political psychology. This is also intended to be a resource for first-time candidates running for state or local government. Um, we're going to be talking tonight about building a social media strategy, just the foundations, where to start when you don't know where to start. And so let's just dive into it. First of all, big myth, especially for millennial and Gen Z candidates as we're coming up. We grew up with the internet. I use social media all the time. Why do I need to write out a strategy? And it is very important that you are writing this out beforehand because I've noticed that because social media is such second nature to us that we think we can just do it as we go. And to a degree, yes, you're going to find spontaneous things to post about. You're going to use social media without necessarily having planned it all out beforehand as you get inspired. However, and I can't, if you take one thing away from this presentation from the beginning, it's that you need to have a strategy in writing laid out before you get started. As we all know, social media is designed to keep us hooked. It keeps us scrolling. It is designed to keep us emotionally attached and to be focusing on that. And that is just us in our day to day life. It's designed to do. We've all doom scrolled, we've all stayed up late watching TikTok and whatnot. However, this this attachment becomes 10, if not 100-fold once you're a candidate. When you're a first time candidate, it is a very stressful, very emotionally vulnerable experience. And with the anxiety that comes along with putting yourself out there, putting your name out there, doing things that you've never done before, and having higher stakes, candidates tend to become hyper focused on social media and they start spending disproportionate time and resources. I'm actually going to read you the whole block quote from this published reference. Another Chicago area campaign that was in an extremely tight race described being so concerned with gaining Facebook friends that a member of the communications digital team purchased additional friends. The strategy held many problems, not least of all that it failed to reach actual voters, and staffers had to subsequently spend additional hours manually deleting the campaign's Facebook page of fake friends. So, and this is an experienced candidate. This was not a first time candidate. This was someone who might have been newer in the advent of social media that became obsessed with it, but definitely someone not new to politics that this happened to. So please understand that once you get rolling, you're going to want to have a strategy already in place. Also, I think we kind of have the Cinderella story that, and I think social media is great for better access to our voters, a more cost effective way to reach people. However, it is not going to be the great equalizer for your campaign going up against someone with more money. So it's just really important that you have a strategy already in place because it's not going to be this magic silver bullet that you might hope that it's going to be. And so now that we've kind of talked about the why, we're going to have three main components of our strategy. Brand building. This is going to be where we spend the bulk of our time. And what you think of when you think of social media and communications campaigns, building your identity, and creating your visibility, spreading your visibility. Also, enhanced networking, tapping into already established networks, just networking more efficiently, and feedback, noting what messaging does better, what messaging doesn't receive as much traction, looking for opportunities for notable interaction, just kind of using your social media feedback to guide maybe where you want to steer your focus. I've noticed this a lot, especially with progressive candidates. But Krista, I want to campaign on the issues with my funny little mocking SpongeBob meme. I think that's great. I think that everyone should have, you should have the issues locked up. When you are governing, you want to be an expert on the issues. You want to be passionate about things you care about. However, remember that you are exceptional in this way. This is what you love to do. This is what you feel called to do. This is what you spend your time doing is forming opinions, getting new perspectives, really developing your sense of the policies that can really make an impact. Your day-to-day voter, the people who are going to put you in office, they are not, they're not looking for homework from you. They're looking for someone to help, you know, help someone to help inspire them, help give them feelings. Anyway, this brings me to the elaboration likelihood model. This is what I'm talking about in a more academic theory, but also a very proven a very proven and very known theory. So basically, when I'm saying elaboration, I'm saying how much time and effort someone is going to put into evaluating the subject before they form an attitude about the subject. In this case, the subject is you as a candidate, right? You as a candidate versus your opponent. If someone has high motivation and high ability, they're going to have high elaboration. They're going to put a lot of time into really delving into the nuances, finding the little details of where you guys are different, finding where you guys are the same, deciding what's important to them, really spending a lot of time in what we're going to refer to as your central processing. That's, you know, your really logical, really rational pros and cons Venn diagram type processing. You will find some voters like that. And I hope they give you a lot of steam on the campaign. However, most of your voters are going to be going the peripheral processing route. They will have low elaboration. They're going to make knee jerk reactions. They're going to say, oh, I want to have a beer with him, or oh, like she's one of us. Or, they're gonna have a certain feeling that they're not going to put a lot of time into and they're going to emotionally attach to, you know? So you've got to think if you want to win this race, what route are your voters likely to be operating? How do you want to get the most votes, spending the least amount of resources? And in case I haven't said it enough, most of your voters will be processing peripherally. So, with that in mind, as we build our brand, how are we going to create visibility, shareability, and establish credibility? Um, Visibility, this is very straightforward. The more familiar you are, the more attractive you are. The more attractive you are, the more votes you get. This is actually, in my little citation there, it's off of Jonah Berger's book, Invisible Influence, where he talks about a study they did in a college course. All the students agreed to participate in this study. They weren't really given much information until the end of the semester. At the end of the semester, they were given a panel of female faces, and they were asked to choose who the most attractive females were in their opinion. And the class as a whole, very, different people in the class, they overwhelmingly voted. I can't remember if it's three or four, but they overwhelmingly voted for these few women's faces. And as it was revealed to them in the study later, but what had happened was these plants, they had planted these women to come into class every day, and they would sit in the front of the class. And in a place where all the classmates could see them every day. And so they were exposed to these faces through the semester. And then on the last day, they're asked to vote who they found more attractive. And it was the faces that they had seen every day. This is the same with voting. The more familiar you are to a voter, the more attractive you are just by nature of having seen you over and over and over again. Obviously, this doesn't apply just to your social media and your campaign. This is all your messaging. How often can you get out knocking doors? How often can you be out waving signs? The more views you get, the more contacts you have with a person, the more attractive they're going to find you. I'm not going to read, this is from another Jonah Berger book called Contagious. This is just one example. You can use like any resource you want to think of, like, how can I build content? Thinking about how am I going to get people to share it? And my point in putting this in here, I like this one because I think it's very smart. I think it's very thought through, and I think it's very easy to remember. But my point in putting this in here is everything that you are sharing should have a point that this is how I'm going to get people to get interested and to share it to other people. Everything should have an intention. And then finally, credibility. So when we're talking about peripheral cues before, how people form their opinions of you as a candidate, credibility is actually the strongest of the peripheral cues. And when I say credibility, I'm not necessarily meaning like expert, like, knows the most, is the most intellectual. I'm meaning like authentic, like how credible are you in being able to represent your electorate? How credible are you in saying that you're gonna, doing what you're saying that you're gonna do during your campaign? Trust, likability, all that things. So these three things in mind: building credibility, being visible, and creating content with the intention that people are going to share it. These are going to be your three mainstays as you're developing your social media strategy in terms of what kind of content you want to be making. These things should always be in the back of your mind. These are two really good examples, actually, of credibility, AOC and Beto O'Rourke. Both of these in the fact that they built their social media image based on the credibility that they are authentic, they're one of the people, they are understanding their voters, they're really doing, they're doing things with the intention of serving. And one was very successful in getting elected, one not as successful, but in terms of building a brand, both incredibly successful in their social media aspects of their campaigns. Um, so there we have it, building the brand, an essential foundation of a successful social media strategy, but not the whole thing. We got two more pillars here. So enhanced networking, the best example of this is Obama's 2008 campaign. I am going to read you the full block quote, but I highlighted kind of the main takeaways in there for you. Obama's 2008 campaign was the first to fully utilize the power of the internet. Provided the Obama campaign with a method of knowledge sharing and mobilization of voters and volunteers that bypassed the traditional party machinery. Through file sharing, networking on social media, and the use of visual online media such as YouTube, the Obama campaign reached potential voters directly. Furthermore, the collaborative nature of many of these sites made an outstanding opportunity for Obama supporters to feel that they could make a difference in the campaign. With an online network of 13 million registered supporters, Obama had built a national movement ready to share campaign messages, contact with potential voters, and mobilize volunteers. So big there. You are networking, you're finding contacts of people that are going to invest in your campaign. They're going to feel like they have a stake in your success. That's huge. That is something that social media can do because people feel connected to you. They have easier access to you, and they feel like they're a part of something with kind of minimal effort that you can involve people and bring them in. And then obviously your more responsive social media interactions, you want to try and connect into your traditional campaign. You're going to reach out to them. You're going to try and see if they can be like a local field captain. You're going to see if they're willing to phone bank. But this, and I mean, we know all this as humans. This is not news that I'm giving you. This is basic social networking. However, now that we have the internet, now that we have all these hubs, we can do it kind of on steroids. So yeah, invite voters to have a stake in your race. Social media interaction invites voters to be a part of the campaign, follow up, and get your more enthusiastic people to get them plugged in as volunteers. Also, you want to, work smarter, not harder. The things that you are really passionate about when you run, see if there's a Facebook group about it. See if there's a local Facebook group. If you are big on education, see if there's a local like PTA Facebook group that you can join. Always like check the rules when you join these groups. Don't be rude. But I mean, just like you would not show up to a party that you're not invited to, like don't be rude. But if you're like big on hunting and you're in a rural area and there's a local like hunters group, like join that. Advertise your stuff on that. See if you can have like a live event like versus that. Like don't reinvent the wheel. If people already have established networks of people that are passionate about the stuff, like use it. Like it's there. Um, and sorry, I'm doing this in a laundromat. I hope that everyone enjoys my passionate views about how to build a social media campaign. So our final thing to think about as we're constructing this is messaging feedback. So obviously, this is not going to be as accurate as polling, but we're running a local race and we are new to this. And unless we are what I like to call a Nepo candidate, someone that's coming in with a lot of political connections and a lot of money already ready for them, you probably don't have a ton of money in your campaign bank. Um, just making sure the police weren't pulling up on me. But you probably don't have a ton of money to work with. So we're going to use what we can for free. And what is free is messaging feedback on your social media. So a 2016 study revealed that social media feedback, retweets, shares, and general response rate can closely reflect information received from polling. Not perfect, but it can closely reflect it. And obviously do not rely on this to gauge your election results, not rely on this to drive your effort. You should be working hard till the very end. You are new. That's what you have to do. However, you can kind of tailor things like if one thing gets a lot of shares because you're talking about your views on, you know, crosswalks or whatever. Say you make a really successful crosswalk post, you're going to want to do more crosswalk posts, right? If you got a lot of people that are passionately responding about public lands, you're going to do more public lands posts. Again, this is not rocket science. This is stuff you kind of intuitively know, but making sure that we are laying it out very clearly for our strategy and not just saying like, oh, I already know this. I'm going to figure it out as I go. Like, no, we want a strategy. So we're going to think about it in these terms. Um, cool tip. If you are using social media and also email to solicit issue related fundraising, you're going to make an ask for a specific amount. Excuse me. So you can identify from that post, like, help send me off with a donation of 1, 2, 3, 4 to like get me going or get me on the road with $47 per tank of gas. So when you're saying stuff like that, you can see like what posts are successful in raising money, and you can use that as a pattern for more fundraising posts. Yeah, this is not as hard as it sounds. It shouldn't be as scary as it sounds. Um, responding, you know, there are going to be some opportunities where you have the chance for like a really good clap back. I put up two really good examples there. Um, however, if it's not deliberately thought of, if it's done out of anger, if it's done out of fear and anxiety, do not do it. It's not worth it. Even if you think it's really, really good, if you are doing it from an emotional place, just let it lay. Okay. Pick your battles. If you see someone chiming in on your behalf, however, plug them in. See if they want to be a field captain, see if they want to rally people to go knock doors. And I said it already, it's worth saying again in all caps. Never respond when you are emotional. Um, just don't do it. Um, oh, to go back, make sure one person on your core team is someone that keeps you accountable to not responding when you're emotional. Okay. It should be someone that is not afraid to just tell you to shut it down. Um, but I digress. Okay. So, what does this look like in real life? So, in your campaign plan, again, you should have a written campaign plan. You need to have a messaging section. It is paramount to have this written so that is easy to distribute to oncoming team members, and your core team will share the same mental model of your brand. And as you develop your core team, you cannot be everywhere all at once. People will understand what your brand is. They'll understand what's on brand. They'll understand what's off brand. They'll have an idea of how to respond when they're presenting you when you're not there. You should also have a social media calendar. Going back to the very beginning where I'm talking about, we think it's going to be second nature to us when we are doing things, but once again, social media can suck your focus. You don't want to be at an event preoccupied with what you're going to post instead of making connections with voters. So you should have your content thought of and planned before you attend any events. You should not be brainstorming at the location. You don't have to have it like, oh, I'm going to stand exactly, you get to a place and you're like, okay, like this is what this looks like. This is the better lighting, but you should have an idea. Like at this thing, I'm going to take a picture with this person who endorsed me at this event. I want to picture me sitting in the dunk tank. I want a picture of me at the petting zoo, petting the goat. I don't know what you guys are doing in your campaigns, but you're going to have an idea of what you want. And I don't want you to rely on this, but secondhand, if something comes up and for whatever reason you've shown up at an event and it wasn't super planned in advance and you don't have content pre-planned, delegate that. Someone should be there thinking of the content idea for you. You need to be present. You need to be making connections. You need to be selling yourself. You don't like the person who shows up to an event and sits in the corner scrolling on their phone, right? Like you like people who are present, who are engaged. No one wants to vote. And remember, taking it back to our brand building, people are making their peripheral judgments about you. You don't want to be that sulking teenager in the corner obsessed with their phone. Voters don't like that. All right. So what does this look like physically? I like to do 2 schedules, not just in the world of social media, but as you're planning your campaign, I find it's really easy. Obviously, all this is subject to change, but as you get started, remember, anxious experience, vulnerable, lots of decisions to make that are going to take a lot of energy that they might have not taken before. So I like to have a weekly schedule that's like your framework for the week, what to expect for every week, subject to change, subject to move things week to week, and then your specific monthly calendar for every month. So you've got your weekly sample. I can send this all out if you'd like. You've got your weekly schedule. This is designed for when you're starting out your early campaign, your candidate one staff. So you'll see like the social media parts I put in here, like Sunday afternoon, maybe a community event, evening, your goal is to have a Facebook Live with an online group. Um, every Monday, you want kind of a personal narrative post. Tuesday, you want an issue-based post. Um, a good idea for Wednesday is because it's a midweek. You can have like an issue post and you can do like a midweek check-in with that messaging feedback. What's working, what's not, such and such. You get the point. And then your monthly, I put two because I want to show the progression. What I like to do is you take the first month and you start just your brainstorming, like what are events I can go to, what are posts I can do. Like you'll see, like on the 8th is National STEM Day. If that's a big thing for you, you're going to want to make a post about that. Um, I'm a big rural health person, so November 21st is National Rural Health Day to make a post about that, those kinds of things. And then you can kind of go through, pick out the ones you want, and as much as you can, what are the posts that I'm going to make about this? The 21st, I took this from Somerville, Massachusetts calendar. There's a fuel assistance meeting, which I thought was cool, and also Massachusetts is not rural. So I saw there was a fuel assistance meeting, and I think it is important to help people with heating costs. So I want to have my candidate attend that and also make a post about that. Um, I think you get the point. Here are all my references, and I should have ended with like a good luck, go get 'em slide, and I did not. That's on me. But good luck out there, and I wish you the very best. And that is my presentation. Thank you so much. Okay, and